Ducks fans, are you ready? You are listening to the Ducks and Pucks podcast. This is the #1 home for Anaheim Ducks talk and analysis. Here we go.
Welcome to the show. This is your host, Mike Walters, along with my co-host, Eddie Richard. And we have a different kind of show, I guess, this week for you. Full disclosure, we were maybe going to pass on the show this week and wait. But something came up in the league. Some guy you might know, like Corey Perry or something, might have been in the news a lot lately in this last week. So we're going to talk about that, obviously. And we'll start the show with that, a little different order to what we normally do, and then we'll kind of go through, talk about the games. Unfortunately, the Ducks have, kept on losing, but we'll go through those games briefly. We'll talk about what's going on with the team, some injury updates, and a lot of your fan questions as well, and tons of league news on the show. There's tons of stuff going on in the league that we'll wrap up and finish up the show with and cover. So it'll be similar to most shows, but obviously we'll start off with the Corey thing first. But before we dive into all of that, Eddie, how was your Thanksgiving and what are you drinking?
Oh, we all know. I'm drinking Pink Whitney, but I was contemplating on going and getting I called Uber Eats because I didn't feel like driving. I'm a little under the weather. I'm fighting a cold / flu, whatever it is, so I feel like crap. So I thought about getting some whiskey just to soothe my throat because everyone says to drink whiskey, but I wasn't going to spend like $6 on a shooter, so I just stuck to my Pink Whitney. $2 ones, Uber Eats them over here. So I'm drinking my Pink Whitney. Hopefully it helps my sickness go away. I'm playing hockey tonight, so it's either I'm going to sweat all this crap out or I'm just going to get worse. So cross your fingers that I get better. As far as Thanksgiving, Mike, I did something different this year. It's just one of those, I'm not a big holiday person, and then my first year without my dad, and the week I had last week, I was just with my normal job and my business, running about 13, 14, 15-hour days for 3 days straight. So once Thanksgiving came, I didn't do absolutely anything. I sat in bed, watched movies, slept. That's all I did, and it felt amazing. Not to have any responsibility, not to check my phone, see if I have any orders, nothing. Just to have zero thing in my mind. The only positive thing for Black Wednesday, if you guys don't know what that is, usually it's a Friendsgiving or people get absolutely toasted. I went out bar hopping with my best friend and brother. His name's John. He's my trainer too. So him and I went bar hopping. We met up with some other friends. Didn't get done with our little shenanigans until almost 5, 6 in the morning. So that was like the fun. That was probably one of the best things I could have done for myself, just to let loose and hang out. But Thanksgiving was perfect. I did miss having ham though. So for Christmas, I think I'm gonna buy a ham and cook it and enjoy that for myself and my friends. How about you, Mike? What did you do?
Yeah, pretty much in the same boat as you. Same thing, been working a lot. I got a little bit of a scratch in my throat, so if Eddie and I guess sound different on this show, you know why. We both kind of feeling it a little bit. It's that time of the year. Just worked a lot, and then on Thanksgiving was just home. Same thing you said. We watched movies. Obviously, I watched football. Just hung out and kind of kept it mellow because I was not 100%. I feel better now, but I'm still not really 100%. But I'm off for the next couple of days, thankfully. And it wasn't really too crazy or too exciting. Did go to the 2 games on Wednesday and Friday at home, which I'll talk about those later in the show when we get to that, and kind of what happened with those games and whatnot. But I made it out to those. I felt fine during the day. My thing has been more like at night. Usually when I go to bed, I feel a little bit of a scratchy throat. So I feel okay. It's just been kind of a little bit of a nagging cough here and there. So nothing too exciting. I wish I had more excitement to share, but there are some things I will talk about that happened in this last week that kind of correlate with the games and whatnot. Did get the 30th anniversary jersey, so I'll talk about that too as well, since it finally went on sale for everybody. And we'll break that all down. But, just mellow, hanging out, and as far as drinking, Eddie, I'm doing the usual Red Bull vodka.
Oh, you can't go wrong with that. Did you have to work on that Friday, or you had off Friday?
No, I was lucky. I was off. Thanksgiving and Friday. So I was able to go to the Black Friday game, which, as you all know, didn't go so well. And we'll talk about that. But yeah, no, I was able to go and watch the. I had some friends that I met with too on Wednesday and Friday that went to some of the games, and that was good to see some people and hang out and whatnot. Probably the best part of those two games, unfortunately, but yeah. I was able to hang out and do that, and then just like I said, just kind of relax, Eddie. I just kind of kept it mellow. Try not to get too crazy with the Black Friday, the Black Friday sales and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, this was the first time since 2012 where I actually had to work on Black Friday. Believe it or not, it was because 2012 I went to the Army, did all my service there, and usually we have our 4 days, so I wouldn't have to work on Black Friday. And luckily, when I had responsibilities and duties where I had to work on the 4 days, I've never worked on Black Friday. I always either traded it off or did something. When I got back to civilian world, working just jobs here and there, kind of I call them jobs. I always made it clear, hey, holidays I'm taking off, especially being in the military. I had to miss so many holidays being away from my family and friends. So I always made that, I always put that in stone that, hey, I'm not going to work holidays and things like that. So now I'm in a career, my first year, and then the two people, my coworkers, they took off. So I was the only one available. So I'm like, damn it. I mean, I wasn't planning to go, I'm not a big go to the mall and shop, but I wanted to go out Thanksgiving night to a few bars with my friends, after they hung out with their families and stuff like that. I wasn't in the mood to do family stuff, but I was a little bummed out that I had to work. But it was great. They shortened the hours for me to work. So instead of me working the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., I was able just to work 7 to 3, so it wasn't too bad, and work was just completely slow and dead, so it was a nice, easy shift. I'd be able to watch the Ducks game, and got pissed off, shut it off, chugged a beer after the game, but can't complain. So, yeah, it just sucks. Like I said, Mike, since 2012, I've never worked a Black Friday game. I've never worked Black Friday until this year.
Yeah, well, you didn't miss much in that game. And again, I'll save that when we go into the games after we talk about the big topic, which we'll basically just dive into it now. The big topic is, love him or hate him, your former Ducks legend Corey Perry was all over the internet and social media the last week. I'm gonna kind of give a little rough timeline of some stuff that has gone on, and then there's some recent stuff that just came up. It's still an ongoing story, which unfortunately it should not be, and I'll kind of talk about that a little bit later. But just to kind of go back a little bit in November, in the beginning of the month, they had a mom's weekend. As some of you know, the teams will have a dad's weekend or a mom's weekend. So they had for Chicago a mom's weekend in Florida on November 8th. And there was some kind of rumor that something may have happened there. It kind of got spread and blown up a week or so after that. And then by November 25th, you had these conflicting reports came out. You had the GM saying that there was a team decision that Perry was going to be away from the team. Then you had Perry's agent come out and say, no, he stepped away from the team to attend to some personal matters. Then on the 28th, he was put on waivers. Unconditional for purpose of termination, and then on the 29th, he cleared those waivers, and then his contract was terminated. And also, the team gave a press conference, or the GM gave a press conference, which didn't really tell us a whole lot. Just said that it did not involve players and players' families, because there was this crazy, wild rumor going around about Bedard's mom and Perry, which... As soon as I heard it, I thought it was complete BS. I did see a couple posts on X, also known as Twitter, where I think those were the sources of it. One account now went private, so you can't see what they posted. They allegedly posted some text messages, which I think is complete BS. And then another account claiming to be an insider posted stuff, and it just kind of went crazy from there. So the GM addressed that in the press conference, but never gave us any of the details. And I'll stop there. There's a couple little other developments about it after that. But up to that point, what did you think, Eddie, about just Chicago and how they handle it? Obviously, you and I don't like that organization for a lot of reasons. But to me, up until these other couple reports that we'll get to that have given some light to maybe the event, I thought that this was completely handled wrong by Chicago, and the internet ran wild with this for a few days, and they could have nipped this in the bud, and they kind of addressed, obviously, the Bedard thing, but they never told us the full story, so the internet just kept running with everything going on.
Oh, absolutely. You know, you can't blame these people for creating rumors. It falls all back in Chicago and that shit organization over there. They're talking about all full transparency moving forward with all the stuff they've been through, and this is an example that they're not being transparent. I don't give a shit about some players' feelings. When you're an organization that covered up something so despicable and disgusting, yet you still withhold facts and the truth. Like, you have a public obligation now not to hold anyone's feelings, or not to, unless it's being libelous or anything. There's no reason why not to come out and say what's going on, and we'll get into more with what the new developments that popped up. But this is all this falls back in Chicago. You could have stopped this whole thing just being 100% transparent like you said you were, but no, you didn't. You just continue to be the shitbag organization that you are, and you let this blow up and run wild. And I feel bad. Yeah, it's funny. We all had laughs at it. How some of these memes that are coming up, it's just like some of the people are creative on creating that. It's funny. I mean, I can get a laugh out of it, but I do feel bad for Bedard, 18 years old, having to deal with this kind of scrutiny, having his family pretty much dragged through the mud over Chicago's handling of this. And you can't blame anyone. You can't blame the internet for what the internet's doing. The internet's going to be doing that for forever. I mean, it's you can't just narrow it down and say, oh, well, they shouldn't have done this. No, Chicago should have just been upfront and said what was going on, and stop letting people speculate and believe, because it just blew out of proportion. And this isn't done yet. This is going to keep going on forever and ever. I'm pretty sure you're going to have some idiot people bringing signs to the game about Bedard's mom and stuff like that, and that's just disgusting. But I mean, it ultimately lands in the fault of the Chicago Blackhawks and the way they handled it, or what they didn't handle. It's just so despicable, disgusting, and the league's probably not going to do any form of punishment, because this is like PR 101. The way Chicago handled this situation is just, if any of you guys are communication majors or even took a basic public relations class, they harp on kind of going out there before the fire spreads. No, Chicago just saw the fire, what was going on, closed the door, and who knows, went back to their video room doing inappropriate things. That shitbag organization. But this is all their fault, and I really feel bad for Bedard and his family that they have to go through this, and it's just something that shouldn't have happened. Like you said, Mike, Chicago should have came and been upfront from the very beginning, the transparency thing they keep talking about, but once again, they proved that they can't do something so simple. I understand if it was in something criminal, and then their miscommunication on what the whole issue is going on. You have one side saying one thing, you have Perry's side saying another thing, and then you have a press conference that says a totally different thing. It's just like, you're hiding some sort of truth, and I don't know if you're doing it for yourself as an organization, or to protect investors or partners, and we'll go over that a little later, but it's just so stupid and dumb that this negativity thing by Chicago, because they didn't want to stop and say anything or be transparent, it spreads beyond the whole world of hockey. I have friends that don't even watch hockey. They're asking me, hey, what's going on with the hockey league? This guy banging this guy's mom, blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's disgusting. That's not kind of the publicity that this league wants. Hockey's been on a downward spiral for seasons now, the ratings and everything. And this is kind of proves the fact that why it is, because teams like this, organizations like this, and the league, why not the league step in? Hey, Chicago, you need to say something, do something. Look at this fire that's out of control. But nope. They just kept bringing, I guess, gas to the fire, and it's not going to stop. It's just going to keep going. So, thank you for Chicago for kind of letting that happen. It's no one but your fault.
Yeah, and you made the point there that I also talked about just before, is that you had this fire start, and you had an opportunity to put the fire out. And what they basically did, and I'll read the statement that they gave from the team, and then kind of mention a little bit more about the press conference. But what they basically did is they had a house fire, and they took a fire extinguisher and basically started spraying the corner of the house, and that's what happened. It obviously didn't work. The fire kept going, and the house kept burning. I mean, it still is burning, as like Eddie said, because at the time of us recording this, there's some other little updates that I'll mention too in a second, but it's still not where it is. So the thing is that they put out a statement, and I'll read it to you. They said, hey, after an internal investigation, the Chicago Blackhawks determined that Corey Perry has engaged in conduct that is unacceptable and in violation of both the terms of his standard player's contract and the Blackhawks' internal policies intended to promote professional and safe work environments. As such, he was placed on unconditional waivers. Okay, that still doesn't tell us anything. So then they expand on that. They have the press conference, and they say it didn't involve other players or their families. Which I was waiting for some reporter in the audience to ask, okay, did it involve anybody with the Blackhawks organization, any employee? Because then that's what came out. There was 2 reports, at least the ones that I had seen, one from Emily Kaplan that said it involved employees from the team. And then you had Frank Saravelli saying that there was an event with team sponsors, an employee, and possibly alcohol related as well around the time of the game against Nashville. So you have these things now, these little things are coming out piece by piece by piece. The house is still burning like we talked about. And as Eddie mentioned, which is a good point, if you're a communications major, a PR person, someone that works in this, you didn't get out in front of the story. All you said is, well, it didn't involve, other players or families. And then you left it at that. And then now the internet's going to do what the internet's going to do, like Eddie said. And I don't blame those people for putting out all the stuff. I mean, I don't like, obviously, the one specific rumor involving Bedard. I thought that was crappy. But the internet's going to do what it's going to do. And if it is, in fact, some kind of event that had team sponsors and there was alcohol and maybe there was a fight, argument, whatever it is, because we still don't really know exactly what it is, it's out there. And it's going to keep going out there. And you had a chance, to try to end this and at least say, hey, we had an event. There was some kind of disagreement with Perry and whoever, and we felt he acted rude as a result of whatever. If he was talking trash, if he got drunk, kind of reminds me if we go back to Bob Stool Murray, right, throwing the chair up in the press box and that whole thing we talked about, which I'm not bringing that up to dive back into the Ducks, but I'm just saying there's an incident, something like that. Like, I mean, you don't have to go 100% into all the specifics, but you could have said, hey, we had a charity event, a team event, and some of the things got out of hand, and somebody said things they shouldn't have said, or there was some kind of fight, or whatever it was. You don't have to go into the specifics of the actual incident, but you at least say, hey, this is what it is, this is where it occurred, and this is what happened. And they didn't do any of that. And you'd think that, especially with the history of all the stuff that's gone on with this organization, how poorly it's handled it, and all the other stuff, going back to Kane, which actually he's back in the news again, which we'll talk about at the end of the show. This is just not the way to handle it, because now you're trying to put out this house fire, which you could have contained it, and you didn't. And now this house fire is spreading to your neighbors' houses. That's the way I look at this situation. It's spreading out to other people's houses, and there's all these other spin-off stories, because one of the first ones I heard before the Bedard thing was that it was alcohol-related. That was one of the very first ones, but then people shut that down because they said, well, how come there's not the Player Assistance League and all that? And we've seen that in the NHL. We've seen players with alcohol and drug abuse problems, and we've seen that route. But that didn't come up. So, I don't know. We'll find out more, but it's kind of leading to me in a situation where I'm thinking that maybe at this event there was some kind of argument or fight or something like that. That's kind of what it sounds like to me, at least at the time of this recording, Eddie. Again, I'm speculating, but unfortunately I have to, because the Blackhawks PR didn't do their job like you talked about.
Exactly. And when you mentioned that quote that came out, there's corporate business partners there. I mean, obviously, if you piss one of those people off, you're gone. Like, they're going to keep a player and potentially lose a corporate or business partner or sponsor. That's in and done. But like I said, it should have came out. You should have said something, especially Chicago. Chicago is on really thin ice with every. I think they're the most hated team in the whole entire National Hockey League for everything that's gone on, and for the league that just gave them Bedard, the first overall pick, the rigged thing that it was. you don't believe it, go back and read into it. I don't believe in coincidences, but we get back on topic now. But it's just dumb how, this could have been done and over with. We wouldn't have talked about this, but nope. Now it's here, and I guess Frank Saravalli put out too that I guess this whole Perry debacle is not over yet because there's a couple teams that might be interested in his services. Maybe it's not as bad as everyone thinks. Like you said, Mike, maybe it just got drunk, an argument spewed out. Maybe he got into an altercation, a fight. And sometimes when players fight or they get into physical altercations, you don't always have to involve the cops and get a battery report. It can be handled in-house and not be spread out until law enforcement, especially if it has to do with some kind of business partners or sponsorship partners. They don't want their name a public record via law enforcement or anything like that. So things can kind of spiral out of control, but it's still dumb and it's still unfortunate. And I do feel bad for those Chicago Blackhawk fans that hated what their teams did and covered up. But obviously they're still their team and their fans. But it's like they have to be ridiculed online too with everyone else, all the other teams hating them. But it's kind of a screwed up and effed up situation for everyone involved, including Perry too. It's just a rumor like that can damage him and his family. And cause a drift between that, even though it's just a rumor, but just how much it blown up and all family and other parties involved, how the team is taking it. It's just, but the way Chicago handled it, their GM, just too many conflicting statements of, at first it was the team's decision for him to take leave, and Perry, like you said, Perry comes out and then his agent say something different, and then all of a sudden the team had no knowledge of what's going on. It's just, there's too many just hidden factors there. So it just, I don't know if they're leaking just the alcohol abuse thing just to kind of save water, there's something more cynical or something worse going on. But then again, yeah, I'm speculating because we had nothing else to go off of. So that's something that needs to be worked on. And I really hope the league can step in and see what's going on and all the negativity it brought. Then the Blackhawks organization brought once again to the National Hockey League by not just being transparent and coming out and saying what the hell happened. So now we're just all on pins and needles, and it's a wildfire. It's not going to be put out. It's just, you guys know how fires happen. It takes firefighters a long time to put fires out. They're working diligently to do that, but sometimes fires just spiral out of control, especially wood fires, and this is what we have right now, and it's not going to go away anytime soon, and it's just going to stick to them. And no, it's no one's fault. It's not Perry's fault. Maybe he did have a drunken rage or whatever would happen. It's the Blackhawks' fault on the way they handled the situation, because we've seen other teams come out right away and say what's going on. We had the Ducks come out. They didn't try to hide it. They said what was going on, and that was it. He had an issue with an employee. They took care of it, and Ducks did a really, really great job on handling the situation that they were given when they got put in that limelight, and they didn't let this spiral out of control. They took action real quick, did the investigation, were completely transparent, and made the necessary changes to better the organization and to make the employee that was feeling harassed more comfortable in a workplace environment. So I give credit to the Anaheim Ducks, their public relations team, and their organization for going out there and handling that. And it's not just Anaheim Ducks, but other organizations too. The Boston Bruins just recently with Lucic had to deal with he's dealing with domestic violence, alcohol issues. They came out right away and were honest to the public and spoke about it out of respect for the family, not give out more details than they should, but they pretty much gave the five W's. And that was it. And everyone was just done after that, and they were transparent. And Chicago needs to take notes, I still feel they should have some kind of penalty for bringing more negative attention to the league once again.
Yeah, you hit on some good points there, Eddie. It's negative attention to the league. It's negative attention to the organization. And the human aspect that you talked about. You're talking about two different players here. A Bedard who's a lot of people talk about the next like Gretzky type player, right? And there's a lot of hype around him, and so far rightfully so. And then you've got Perry, who is Ducks legend, been around for a long time. Yeah, he's been on a couple other teams recently. Another well-known person, and now all this crap is affecting their home life instead of just coming out and just squashing it right away. And you made good points, too, about the Ducks handling the Bob Murray thing and other teams handling things, the Lucic thing. Even the Kings, when they had their issues, they came out and said, hey, this guy's domestic violence, bye. Most of these teams have come out and at least addressed the stuff, a pretty quick manner. So this was a PR nightmare for them that spun out of control, and it's still spinning out of control. So we'll see what the final story eventually ends up being. The other part of this is, what happens to Perry now? As you mentioned, Sarabelli said there's some other teams interested in him. A lot of you listening are interested in the Ducks bringing Perry back. That's been a big question that I got, as soon as this all started happening, I got blown up with. We had Super Bajorn31 on Instagram asked, is Perry going to come back to the Ducks? And this is the thing. I wish the whole story was out there so we could, hopefully, if it's just Perry had too many drinks and was arguing, then fine. That's it. We move on. Not a big deal. That question, and a lot of you asked separately on the side, not just for when we put out our questions, but you asked, hey, what about the Ducks bringing back Perry? This whole situation. I would, first off, and I hope we find out, I'd like to know exactly what happened. As far as bringing him back, I don't know. I want to say yes, but I also want more facts, and I don't have those facts yet. So I kind of have mixed feelings. Yeah, I liked Perry. I thought he did great with the Ducks. Obviously, he had a little bit of a scoring slump towards the end of his tenure with the Ducks, and ended up the Ducks, decided to part ways. Obviously, him and Getzlaf were great, and they had a good time together. The Ducks. And we'll go into this next segment, but the Ducks are having problems scoring goals right now, and it's not been working out too much. So, will he come back to the team? I think with Verbeek here, I think it's a no. I don't think he will come back to the team. Now, do I want him to? That I would lean more towards yes, if this incident isn't as big as whatever it ends up being. I mean, and unfortunately, we don't know, but that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Eddie? Would you bring Perry back? Do you think the Ducks would want to bring him back?
Right now, no, hell no. With all the negative attention of outside of hockey, what it's bringing, I wouldn't want that little bit of oil, that little bit of drop of oil dropping on over here in the pond, the water in the pond. Here we go. To contaminate it. Like we don't need that outside drama. Strictly, if he never got into any incident and Perry was still playing for the Blackhawks and there's no incidents going on, I would still say no. Well, what's the point of bringing Perry back? We're still a rebuilding team. Bringing a player in that can be used for playoffs, which a lot of teams want to bring him in for like a bottom six role and to kind of mentor the younger guys and be that playoff person that you want in playoffs. Well, why bring him back? Just so we can have a feel-good moment and have kind of like reminisce on what he was and what he brought to the organization. Yeah, respect it and thank you for everything he's done, but it's time to move on. Let's move forward and let's build this team and give other younger players an opportunity, a chance to get some more ice time and play time in there, not bring a pretty much an aging veteran already that's just playing his last few seasons until he decides to retire. It's no knock to him. He's still a great player, and he still serves a purpose on teams that are contending for a cup. Chicago brought him in, and I think Chicago is not poised to make the playoffs at all. And they brought him in, the contract they did, to kind of mentor the guys around him, and then they can flip him at the deadline. He's going to have some value, and they can get some sort of return for him because teams want his kind of style in the playoffs. But for the Ducks, what's the point? I don't see a point in bringing him back. No, if he's going to retire a Duck, then he can sign a one-day contract like most players do and retire a Duck that way. But what's the point to see him skate one last game? It just doesn't make any sense to me. This team doesn't need him. This team needs to figure out, and no, they need to keep building the identity they're trying to establish right now. And Perry's not part of that identity. They need to keep going with the McTavishes, with the Minties, with the Carlsons, and just keep going, moving forward to that, and not kind of bringing players from the past. It's not going to work that way. Like, what next? You want to bring John Klingberg back? Or I know it's kind of a stretch, but that's just my take on it. The Ducks need to keep moving forward and not take any step backwards.
And you make good points. I mean, yeah, I think if the Ducks were more in a playoff position and we thought, hey, they could win the division and they could make a push, and you wanted to bring him in to kind of make that push for the end of the season, Yeah, maybe that could work out and do that. But you're right. This team, and this will kind of transition into the next segment here. It kind of goes with what's going on with this Ducks team right now. It's frustrating. They were the comeback kids in the beginning of the season, and now they've kind of lost their way. And it's just not worked out. That's why, I agree with you. I don't know that Perry would necessarily help this team. I think a lot of people are emotional about Scory Perry and they want him back, in that sense, and I get it. But with what's going on with this team, I don't think Verbeek wants the negative attention like you talked about as well, Eddie. But we'll obviously monitor the Perry situation. Hopefully find out exactly what happened and where he may end up. But I highly doubt it'll be the Ducks. And the Ducks, it's just been rough. They're on this 7-game losing streak. We talked about some of the games on the last show, and they started losing, and it's continued. Unfortunately, they've lost to St. Louis. Was the last game before we recorded that they lost to. Then they lost to Montreal on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. They lost to the Kings on Black Friday. Then they lost to Edmonton, ugly fashion, and they lost to Vancouver. It's just been rough, and the big thing, kind of going, we won't really break down each game, but we'll kind of just talk about like overall what's going on, or at least what I've noticed. I went to a couple of them in person too, but the biggest things that I see with this team, and I mentioned the scoring earlier. I mean, the Ducks right now 2.68 goals per game, which is 28th in the league. And they're giving up 3.46, which is 23rd. Obviously, not good numbers, but it's getting behind. And early on in these games, the Ducks have played 22 games. They've scored first, 8 times. That's it. Like we said, they beat Nashville, came back and won. Every game after that, they've been trailing to start the third period, except for this last game against Vancouver, which they were tied. They did give up an early goal in the third there and ended up losing. But they're getting behind in the beginning of the games. They're not scoring right away. And then they're behind to start the third, oftentimes by multiple goals. And it's not working out. I did think that there were chances for Ducks to break the losing streak. I think in the game against St. Louis, looked like Vakanainen scored first, but they challenged it and it was offsides. And poor Vakanainen's had a couple chances at his first goal. Right, he's had a couple chances and it hasn't worked out. And then the Blues then scored a couple goals, and then they just kind of took over that game, and the Ducks couldn't recover in that one. So, but I thought the Ducks started out strong in that St. Louis game. I thought they could have broken it. And then the game against Montreal, the Ducks started out poorly. They got down 2 goals right away, but then they were able to rally in that game like we had seen, and it looked like the Ducks were going to go to overtime. It was 3-3. McTavish has been still scoring his goals, but we've seen Vetrano scoring his goals. I thought, okay, they're at least going to go to overtime in this game and maybe pull this one out. Then, of course, no, they give up a late goal and they lose that game 4-3. So I thought there was moments in the St. Louis and Montreal game where they could have come back and or at least started well in St. Louis and could have won in that game, but they didn't. And I'll hold off on the next two, but they did not play well against LA and Edmonton, unfortunately. I had to witness the LA one in person. But that's kind of my take on what I've seen lately, Eddie. It just seems like the first period and the build up to the third being behind is super problematic for the Ducks right now. They cannot get the lead, and they're almost always behind by multiple goals to start the third.
Yeah, like I said it too, I think too many people put false hopes into a false reality. Like, the reality of it is, in hockey especially, you can't be the dead last team and all of a sudden do a 180 and become a Stanley Cup contender. And I think a lot of fans got a false hope by these Ducks stealing the games they did, are coming back for the games they had. Like I said before, I think a lot of these teams came into Anaheim complacent, like they did way back years when Anaheim or the Mighty Ducks first started playing. Teams just didn't take it seriously. Teams thought they were going to come to Anaheim as it'd be an easy breeze, and they're going to just breeze right through them. The other teams quickly got to the fact that, okay, the Ducks are a faster, younger team. We need to change our strategy against them. And these teams are exploiting the Ducks' biggest weakness is their defense. They don't have defense, like I say. Like, they don't have I want to say the Ducks do not have a top pairing defenseman at all. Like, no disrespect to the defenseman they do have. Cam Fowler is a great top 4, but he's not a top pairing defenseman. They don't have that. It's the reality. It's what they call it, growing pains still. We're still in a rebuild. This team is, I keep saying, this team's going to finish bottom 5. There's no doubt in my mind this team's going to finish that. Yeah, I had the glimmer of hope, too, as a fan. Like, hey, maybe this team might do something. But it's unrealistic. There's no way a team can do that, especially when you see the rosters out there in the Pacific and then going past the Pacific Division, what other teams really establish themselves. You can't compete with that, not what the Ducks have right now. So I'm not trying to be too negative because I know this team's going to be dangerous. They're going to be the Bruins. They're going to be the Avalanches. They're going to be the Vegas Golden Knights. Even the Kings. The Kings have a dangerous team. The Ducks are going to be that elite category, and they're going to be in the playoffs and Stanley Cup contenders for years to come. This year's not that year. And I apologize if I sound negative, but I'm just stating the facts here. It's the facts of life. You can't just... for example, you can't expect the Sharks to just go on a super stupid run and end up winning the Stanley Cup. If horrible as they're playing, they have zero defense, their lack of scoring, like everything's going wrong in San Jose. And watch them get the first overall pick, and the Ducks don't. If Ducks are that low, but we just have to come to terms with reality. This is a rebuilding team. Go to games, have fun. Don't just bash the team and be pouty about it because you're pissed off at life because the Ducks aren't a Stanley Cup contending team that you think they are. Just go and live with it. Enjoy the games. Watch each individual player grow into the player they're going to become. Let's root for players to get out of the slumps they're in, and just go from there. Enjoy your $18 beer, which I'll bitch on every show about after the games. Which I'm still going to make my season debut. I'm going to the games on Saturday, so I'll be bitching next show about that. One thing about that St. Louis thing with Vakanainen, I think it was his second goal that was overturned that should have been his. It reminds me of Derek Grant. I think Grant had 2 or 3 first goals he should have scored that got overturned, including one in Anaheim when he finally scored, until he finally scored his first career goal in Anaheim, because I know he had some shit luck in Buffalo with that happening, so it kind of reminds me of Derek Grant a little bit. But yeah, we just had to, you know what really hurt me? Like, it hurt me losing to the Edmonton Oilers, not because of the score, because they're doing so poorly, and they've been so just off. I thought the Ducks were going to just smash on them, but it was the other way around. So my bad for having positive thoughts about beating Edmonton.
Yeah, that Edmonton game, they actually they started out decent. You had Jones scoring first. One of the rare times the Ducks score first in a game. Yeah, Edmonton came back and tied, and then Jones scored again, and I thought, oh, okay, cool. Like, there's a good chance Jones could get a hat trick. This might be, a racetrack type game, which it ended up being that for the Oilers, unfortunately. But yeah, the Ducks defense got exposed big time in this game, and I mean, it's what you talked about, Eddie. The Ducks top pairing, they don't really have one. I mean, yes, you brought in Gudis. He's been great. But like Fowler and Lacombe, they're not working out lately. Like, they need to be split up. They got blown up in this game. They did not look good. Drysdale got hung out to dry. There were so many 2-on-1s and like odd man rushes and breakaways. Like, I just was like shaking my head in this game. And like you said, it's like the Oilers are not doing well. So, kind of had a hope that we could win. They didn't. They did have a goal that was taken away in this game, which I laughed about because everybody started talking about comeback on Catella and there was all that kind of stuff. Just like when we had the goal taken away against Florida, which, actually affected the outcome of the game. This one, it did not affect it. Thank God, because we wouldn't, we'd still be hearing about it from the Oiler fans in 2040. But the Ducks, they ended up losing this game. They got exposed, and it didn't work out. And then the other one too, the one before it against the Kings, was the same way. The other issue with this team is penalties. They are the most penalized team in the league. They got in penalty trouble against the Kings early. The Kings got a couple goals. Then the Kings got a couple goals in the beginning of that second period, and it was all downhill in that game as well. And I hate the Kings, but I mean, they are playing good hockey. I mean, I'm sorry, I got to state facts. I mean, it is what it is. They are playing decent hockey. At the time the Ducks played them, they'd only lost 3 times in regulation. So, I mean, it is what it is. But that's the other issue on top of it is the penalties. And yes, the refs have royally screwed us in some of these games here and there, but still, you got to play disciplined hockey. You got to stay out of the box. They're not doing that. The team defense has had some issues, which granted, now there's some injuries. You've got Gudis that got hurt in that Oilers game at the end of the second period. He fell along the boards. He did not play in the game, the last one that we just saw against Vancouver. Then you had Lyubushkin get hurt in the game against Vancouver early in that one. So you got two other guys that got hurt. The Ducks played that Vancouver game, with 5 defensemen basically for since the end of the first period, and they actually played well in that game. That one I thought the Ducks for sure were going to win. They were shooting the lights out against Vancouver in the first 40 minutes. Gave up an early goal in the third, and then they just tanked in the third, and they ended up losing. But I thought that their response was really good after getting just destroyed by Edmonton. They played a much better game in Vancouver. But the other issue too in this is there's no balanced scoring. So, and I mean that in a couple different ways. One is almost the majority of the Ducks goals are scored in the third period. They score as many goals in the third as they do for the first and second periods combined. So that's a problem. They're not scoring throughout all the periods of the game. The other part is there's no balanced scoring in the lineup. You have Vetrano with 13 goals, McTavish with 10, and Carlson with 6, who hasn't even played, a third of these games. So after that, the drop-off's huge. You then have Terry, who has 5 goals, but the last time Terry scored was a hat-trick on November 1st. So where's Troy Terry? I mean, he's been MIA. I don't know if it's the wedding/baby curse. I don't know, but since November 1st, he's been a non-factor, non-existent, and that's unfortunate. And that also goes to probably the fact that Zegras has been out for a while. So there's a lot of those issues that I see, Eddie, that the Ducks are having problems with, and the only way to really address it is you got to do changes in the lineup. You got to move people around, try and work some stuff out. I mean, Killorn finally got a goal, which is great, but he didn't have one in like 9 games. There's no one else scoring on this team. You only have 3 guys that are scoring, and one of them you're not even playing full time. I mean, it's not going to get it done. That's the way I look at it. They've got to change the pairings on defense. They've got to change up the offense, and try and shake some things up, because what they're doing right now isn't working. They're on a 7-game losing streak. They've shown moments where they could have, done some things and been okay. Like I said, I thought maybe they could have won St. Louis, Montreal, depending on the way things gone, or at least gone to overtime in Montreal. And even Vancouver, I thought they had a good chance. But that's just the biggest thing to me. I think that the chemistry is killing this team, and the undisciplined play. I don't know what else you think that the Ducks could do to improve, Eddie. But like you said, they're not a playoff team or a contending team, but they were fun to watch, and they were the comeback kids. They're not the comeback kids anymore. It seems like they're not able to overcome adversity where they had been able to do so earlier in the season.
Yeah, they just lost that steam, that gas they had. They were on a high note. You were saying, but you know what? The Ducks always start off really strong. As far as even last season, I believe they started off strong, and they usually die down by December, January, November, December, January. So it's about that time. They're dying down. It's just this team's learning how to form an identity and be that team they are. You're having players that are, I think, they're the second or third youngest team in the league. I want to say they're still growing, learning the game. You have Killorn. It's first time in 11 seasons playing with a brand new team, brand new system. So he's it's gonna take him a while to start getting going. You can't expect him to start producing as much. I mean, I wanted him to produce a lot more. I think Gudis has been a great addition. Fits in really well with the Ducks. Shot up to one of the fan favorites. But we just gotta stick it through. I mean, there's nothing more we can do. We can just stop being fans. Like, no, that's not what we do. We're not LA fans where you just disappear until you win 2 cups, and then all of a sudden, when their team's good, they're all back. But I guarantee, once LA starts going through what the Ducks are going through right now, all their fans are donezo. They're gone. So, I mean, there's nothing more. I think you hit everything on point, Mike. The Vancouver game wasn't a bad loss. It's one of those losses where you can say they played really well until the third, and they went against a really good goalie, Demko. And I like the fact that Vancouver put their top goalie, Demko, against the Ducks. So that was, before you'd have all the backup goalies, a third string goalie playing against the Ducks, but they put their number one, possibly a Vezina candidate goalie against the Ducks. And they almost, I think if it wasn't him playing, the Ducks would have had this game, but he was a big game changer and a factor. And then the Ducks just kind of ran out of gas. But changes have to be made. Maybe bring some more motivated people up from the goals, switch things around, get past these injuries. Maybe a trade, maybe like a small little trade to spark the team or something like that. Get some more help on defense. I can't believe nothing was really changed on defense against that Edmonton game. I was just... Like, I don't know what was going on. That was terrible. There was no defense, I want to say. There was none back there. Like, wow. It was just crazy. But I was, like, thinking in my mind, why not just send Gibson out there, throw him in defenseman, skater stuff, and let him play defense like no one else is doing it. But just got to wait and see. Hopefully the next few games. Hopefully Saturday's game will be good. I really want them to win Saturday. I'll be there. So thank you, Mike, for giving me those tickets, too. I really appreciate that. And then... hopefully they win that game in December too, Mike. The one we're both going to be going to.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I like you said too, some changes need to be made too. We had some fan questions about this too. We had Ducks fan on Instagram was like, when is Zellweger coming to Anaheim? Well, I mean that could be a move that the Ducks could do to try and spark this and get this going. I mean, you have Gudas lower body injury. They said day to day. They doesn't think it's long term. Labushkin upper body injury, kind of don't really know what's going on with that. We talked about how the pairings don't seem to be working out. I mean, maybe you bring him up and get him in the mix to try and change things up on there because it's just not working out. I think the other part of it is the Ducks do miss Zegras and Drysdale, and they're out. We talked about in the last show, it sounds like it's probably a groin injury or a hernia injury for each of them or one or the other for them because that's kind of what it sounded like from the report from head coach Cronin. There's some rumors that Z might be back like towards the end of December. I don't know. I haven't seen anything official on that. It sounds like probably 2024 maybe for those guys. I mean, I don't know. That's part of this that does hurt too. Is you're missing those two guys. They're at the games. People are taking photos of them up in the press box. I crack up at that, those of you that are out there doing that. But, I mean, I think missing them, I think that's part of the problem for Terry. I think of all the players that are affected the most by those guys out, I think it's Terry. I think Terry really misses Zegras because I think in the beginning of the season, when you had Carlson, Terry, and Zegras, I think that they were really clicking, Eddie. And they've got to try and figure out how to get Terry back on track, regardless when Zegras is going to, be back.
Yeah, chemistry is everything, Mike. Chemistry in sports, hockey, everything. Even talking podcasts, like we have to have a certain chemistry amongst ourselves to talk and kind of go back and forth instead of just not really knowing. I know the first few times we started recording, it was just kind of, we didn't really know how to record with each other. We were just kind of learning that from each other, but we got the chemistry going, and now it's always fun, and especially the chemistry when we go to the games, it's even a lot more fun. But yeah, I feel bad for Terry. He's slumping, and people are really coming down hard on him. But every professional athlete goes through that. Hopefully, he'll find his game. He'll get that monkey off his back, start getting on the score sheet. We desperately need him. He has the skill to do it. Really hope Zegras comes back. Drysdale, it's just unfortunate about him. He held out. He's been hurt. I don't know how you hold out on a contract when you're hurt most of the season, too. That's kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But I guess good part on his agent for getting him the money he got after coming back from being hurt all season. But yeah, these guys need to come back. They need to start producing. They need to start kind of keep molding themselves to be the players that they're supposed to be. Like, we're going to need them to make this team competitive soon. So hopefully their injuries aren't too nagging, not too long-term. I hope they don't prematurely bring them back into the lineup if they start dropping some games just to get a spark or fire. But like I said, Mike, I'm thinking a minor trade here, bring someone new into the defensive core. At that, this defense needs help, and bring someone in just to kind of change the momentum and swing of things. I think that'd be some due justice to start changing the whole momentum of the team.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an option. I mean, there's something. They've got to do something. Something's got to change, basically, to get this team back on track. It feels like there's a bunch of little things going wrong with this team, and you put them all together, and it's affected the team on a big scale. So, we talk about them, they're getting behind early in games. They're behind in the third periods. They're not able to rally like they used to be. You've got players out. You've got a couple more players now hurt. You've got the lack of discipline with the penalties, and yes, some of it has been the refs. I think have screwed us. So we had one guy. It was Reem_ER. He goes, "Do you think the shit officiating gets brought up at the next GM meeting? It seems league wide." And I thought that was a very funny comment from him, because we have seen a lot of calls. Not just on the Ducks. I mean, of course, that's who we watch the most. But yeah, there's been calls too that have not helped this team. So I think you put all that together. And unfortunately, it's just added up, and things aren't going the Ducks' way. Like we said, a couple bright spots with Vetrano, McTavish, and Carlson. I thought Gibson's played a lot better lately, overall, but he needs some more help in the defense. And then just kind of the one last, I guess, fan question on this, and then we'll kind of go through the league news because we kind of got a lot of stuff there. But we had the Secret Eightsman on Instagram asked, where do we stand in this rebuild? Sometimes it feels like we're wasting talent. I mean, we're still in the middle of the rebuild. And I think, Eddie, you mentioned it earlier in the show, and you mentioned it earlier in the season on some of these podcasts. And some of you gave us some shit for it too, which I thought was funny. But Eddie had talked about the reality of this team, where they're at. Obviously, during the winning streak, everybody was like up on the Ducks. Hey, we're a playoff team. We're going to do this, this, and that. And we were all hyped up. But even Cronin talked about it. He said, hey, yeah, we won those games, but they were close games. And they were games we could have easily lost. It wasn't like, oh my God, we're this dominant team. We're killing these teams, and we're going to be a contender. And you had brought that up, Eddie. And now you look at what's happened in the last couple weeks. Not that we wanted them to go onto a losing streak. Trust me, I'm tired of these losing streaks. It sucks. I hate it. But reality's kind of set in now. You have to look at this team. They aren't a contending team. I know it sucks to say that, but that's the reality. And we've talked about all the different things that are kind of gone on here, and some of the things that they can do to fix it. I don't think they're necessarily wasting talent, as part of the question suggests. I think when you're going through a rebuild, there's always going to be negative things that happen. And you're going to have to build on those and go through it. And to me, if you can build on that, get through those tough times, and get into a competitive team, I don't think you're really wasting talent. I think you can get those players where they need to be and go. Now, if the Ducks keep sucking and they play horrible for the next 5 years, then yeah, maybe it's like, hey, we should trade some guys and do a big shakeup or whatever if it goes to that. But at this point right now, I don't think they are. And part of it is some of them aren't even in the lineup right now. They're up in the press box of the game. So you can't waste talent if they're out injured. I mean, they're not even able to go in there and play. So I don't think that's where we're at. As far as the rebuild, we've talked about it, where this team is at. They're in the middle of it still. I do think, like we talked about in the Legacy Night with Correa and Solani and the other alumni, I do think this team can get back to that team that we saw like in 2014, 15, 16, where they were winning the Pacific Division almost every year, and they had won it several years in a row, and they were in the playoffs every year. I think we can get back to that. I feel like, Eddie, we're still just, a couple seasons away.
Yeah, it's going to take some time. To take some moving parts. And I always said, too, as critical as I am, I always said, I hope I'm wrong. And I consistently would love to be wrong if during that streak the Ducks were having that they were going to be squeaking into the playoffs. I didn't want it because I didn't want that mid pick like Philadelphia is kind of going for. But it's going to take time and patience from the fans, patience from the players. I know they want to get back to their winning ways. I know they're tired of the season being over in April. They want to compete. I know Gibson definitely wants to compete for a Stanley Cup. But I think the only talent they are wasting, I want to say, is I'll go back to Gibson. He's probably their best trade candidate, and why not trade him and get assets? It's just, I'd say 2 or 3 years. I don't know. That's just my thing of it. I'll just leave it at that. I think I talked about that before. But the only thing they're wasting too is just I still don't get and understand. I don't care how people want to explain it. The whole Leo Carlson thing. I think he needs to be on the ice. He needs to be building that chemistry with his team. He needs to be finding his game, finding his way, finding ways to improve and retool the game that he has. And I really think, and everyone was pissed off about the second overall pick, but I'm happy that they took Leo Carlson over Adam Fantali. I think he's a phenomenal player. He brings that physicality, big, strong kid that you want. He's real humble. He's real mature for his age, too. And I think he has a lot of growing and learning to do, and he's going to be a great superstar in this league. I think the Ducks hit it out of the park with this pick. And we have to understand that these rebuilds don't take time. And I mentioned the Avalanche a lot because they're my second team I watched. I was over there during their rebuild when I was stationed in Colorado. I saw the worst possible season ever. I saw them sprout up during the Patrick Wall phase and then go right back down during the Bednar phase. But look what happened. The only difference is what their thing is they got a first overall pick and picked McKinnon, and they got lucky drafting Cale Makar at 4th overall. But it's just these times where these players have to really just kind of build themselves up, and they have to. It's a process. You don't expect a caterpillar to crawl on a tree and just automatically just sprout into a butterfly. It takes some time, and I think that's what we're watching with the Ducks. But I think we have something special here, and once that team really gets that fire, once the right moves are made and everything starts clicking, this team's going to be completely dangerous, and it's going to be fun to start talking about how the Ducks are on a 12-game winning streak, or oh my God, the Ducks haven't been beaten in regulation, and hey, Ducks are undefeated to start. It's going to be fun to talk things like that. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, and I'm with you. It's going to take time, and I do think that it's still, this season, however it pans out, we're still enjoying it more than we were last year. So
yeah.
So I definitely think that it's going still in the right direction. Obviously, the losing streak's not helping, but they'll get out of it and they'll start getting things going. I'm just hoping that some changes are made. And I agree with you 1,000%. Play Leo Carlson more, especially with Zegras out. So we'll see what happens with the Ducks. Like we said, every show we'll cover the games and follow through with our analysis on what's going on. And you can always check out the game previews and recaps and whatnot like that, where we break it down on the website. So with that, we'll wrap up with the league news now. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff going on. Yeah, Eddie.
One more thing, Mike. We forgot to talk about one important thing about the Kings game.
Yes.
It was Black Friday. What did you buy for Black Friday? I think it's an important conversation we forgot to have on the show.
Oh, yeah, we were going to talk, you're right, we were going to talk about the 30th anniversary jersey that came up. So I found out that the Ducks were putting it out for sale. A lot of people thought it wasn't going to be till December or 2024, and the team store put it out, and then also went out on the internet too on NHL Shop and Fanatics and whatnot that day. So I ended up getting what I talked about. I got my better half, the 30th anniversary jersey with the Gudis customization on it. So I ended up getting her that, and then I did get myself a blank one, which I don't know if I'll put something on it or if I'll keep it as a blank one. But I didn't participate in Black Friday other than that. That was the only thing that I did. I ended up getting those jerseys. And I also... Some people on my post, they kind of misunderstood the wording. I said that the jerseys had gone on sale starting that day, and I didn't mean. Some people thought that they were like there's a discount, I guess. So I apologize for that. That wasn't what I was talking about. I meant that they were like literally going out, like you could buy them now because it was only the pre-orders before. So they were for sale that day, I guess. I said on sale, so some people thought that there was some kind of a discount, which there wasn't, and I was kind of disappointed. The one thing I was disappointed about that game too, Eddie, is the Fridays where I talked about the $5 hot dog, popcorn, and all that stuff. They did not have that on Black Friday against the Kings. That kind of pissed me off. I was not happy about that. There was no discounts on the jersey, and there was no discounts on the food and beverage that Friday game. So that was a little bit annoying.
Yeah, I'm not surprised on that either. It was a big game, and yeah, they would have probably gained so much revenue off the even the alcohol prices on that Friday. But yeah, it's good. I'm sure she'll like it, so that's a good thing. Hopefully, she didn't listen to the show. If not, you're gonna ruin her Christmas present. Or did you just bought it to buy it?
Oh no, she already knows.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay then. Then have fun with that jersey. I bought one for myself too, and I think you know what, the Ducks should have offered a discount if you're going to be wearing an advertisement on your jersey. There should have been some sort of discount, but nope. I would never do it, and I would have paid the money to get that removed, but I ended up buying it from Shop NHL /Fanatics. I ended up buying it from there. Bought a blank one. I'm planning to buy another one so I can remove the crest and put my own. And yes, I know when the first jerseys came out, I was so against them. I didn't like them. But watching them on the ice really changed my mind. Seeing them just kind of closer up, and I kind of gravitated toward, okay, they're not bad. I do like them. They're not my top favorite ones, but I'll do it. I'll wear it. Even though I said I would never wear one. But I did buy mine without the advertisement. That's one thing I would never do. The only patch I'm going to put on it is the 30th anniversary patch, which I did buy. I bought another jersey too. Remember the reverse retro? There was rumored it was going to be all orange. Of the Wild Wing breakaway, whatever it's called, the Wild Wing jersey. Well, I bought one that's pretty much a great replica of what the orange one is, and I have like the NHL emblem logo I can add to the front. So it's like, okay, I bought that little custom one, so that's gonna be cool to have. So I'm looking forward to getting that. I just bought some small things. I bought things for work. I bought another monitor to help me at work. It's gonna be a lot easier using 3 screens instead of 2. But yeah, I just did most of my shopping too on my phone, so I love that. But yeah, that's it. So next time we go, see, you know what too, Mike? I'm thinking, you know, my custom jersey, the black one I have, the Mighty Ducks logo. I found out what I'm gonna put in the back now, and I'm working with a company I called, I forgot what their name is, but they do great custom jerseys and templates they can make and send them to you. I'm getting a future considerations when I'm trying to get that figured out, the logistics and how they can do that. So I'm talking to them about that, but I'm gonna get future considerations, and I want to get number 44 because I've been waiting for years for a player that I really want to wear number 44 to buy that jersey because that's my hockey number. But I think I'm just gonna slap the 44 on there. Or maybe I was thinking about like a number 0 or something, future consideration 0. I don't know, something funny, but I think it'd be cool. I think I'm the right person to have a future considerations jersey, and hopefully, I think by the end of this year, I'm gonna have that on. So by the time we go to our game in December, we won't tell you when it is. We'll just surprise everybody. But I want to shout out Ruth again and thank her for the tickets. But if you guys know Ruth, you guys gotta know where we're sitting. But yeah, I think I'm gonna rock a future considerations jersey that day. So. We'll see.
Yeah, that kind of a couple other things that brings me to, I guess. But if you want different things like that on your jerseys, the Ducks, I think we mentioned it, you can't do it at the team store. But Cool Hockey and Monkey Sports, if you want Frank the Tank, Wild Wing, you want future considerations, you want any other like custom things like that, then I highly recommend going to one of those two places, either online or to the stores. Because you can get a jersey and you can customize the name on the back, like Eddie's talking about. The Ducks team store, it's player names, and it's very limited. So it is what it is. So something to look into. And since we're on a discussion of jerseys, and this kind of goes with our league news anyways, we have the Winter Classic coming up with Vegas and Seattle, and they had their jerseys. And I guess, like you said, with the 30th anniversary jersey, at first I was kind of like, it kind of grew on me. With the Ducks and seeing it in person and on the players and whatnot. Looking at these Winter Classic jerseys, I don't like them at all. I think the Seattle one's okay. It's not horrible. The Vegas one, the Vegas one is horrible to me. Somebody made a comment. They said it looked like the Vegas Knights were giving people the double-barreled middle finger. And I just thought, oh my God, I can't get that out of my head now. So they were just like, it looks like 2 arms giving middle fingers to people. But I thought that the Vegas Knights Winter Classic jersey is, I give it an F-. I think it's just horrible and just completely ugly. Seattle, I probably give like a C. I think it's okay. The red S in the middle, it's kind of weird with the colors. I don't know, but not horrible, but I don't know. That's just kind of what I thought, and I figured since we're talking about jerseys, we'd bring that up. But what did you think about those 2 jerseys, Eddie?
No, Vegas one was. I think I like it more, thinking of the 2 middle fingers. But no, it was fugly. It was terrible. I thought it was a joke. I thought, okay, someone's screwing with us. There's no way that Vegas is gonna produce something like that. It was bad. The Seattle one, I'll agree. I'll agree with your grade, a C. They're bringing it back to their old roots, so that was cool. But it's still terrible. I'm still kind of skeptical too. Like, I don't think these teams should be playing in a Winter Classic when there's other teams that haven't at all. So I think they should have had a Stadium Series game between these two. It would have been fair. Other teams, well, no, I shouldn't say that, because if I say that, then God forbid they're going to give Chicago, the Blackhawks, another Winter Classic. So okay, never mind. I'll just shut up. I'm happy that Vegas and Seattle got the Winter Classic, but Yeah, we're gonna see ugly jerseys on the ice, so it's gonna suck. So hopefully it'll be a great game. That's all I hope for. It's always kind of a tradition when I'm hungover to watch the Winter Classics, though. It's gonna be kind of fun to see.
Yeah, exactly. I told you guys I went to the one last year with Boston and Pittsburgh at Fenway Park, and that was a blast. I'd never gone. That was on my bucket list. I'd never been to Boston. I'd never been to Fenway Park. Never been to a Winter Classic. So I got a hat trick of crossing off things off the bucket list last year, and that was awesome. So if you ever have a chance to go to a Winter Classic game, I highly recommend it. If you buy seats higher up. Because whichever baseball stadium, or if they play it at a football stadium, wherever, if you're sitting down low, you're not going to see shit. So that's just my advice. Buy seats up higher because you're not next to the rink, as far as wherever they put it. It may be on a baseball field. It could be close on an infield, but you're still not going to see shit. It's horrible. Buy the higher up seats. Buy the seats, that you can see the whole thing. That's my recommendation. That's what we did. We bought them kind of on the first base side, almost at the middle of the ice, and that way you can actually see the whole game. So that's my only recommendation for that. So yeah, looking forward to that. Not the jersey so much as we talked about. Another thing coming up too is the All-Star game. They're changing that up. They're gonna have a player draft in this one, Eddie, and the All-Star game is going to be in Toronto this year. What do you think about that? They're actually going to be able to pick the teams.
That's gonna be fun. Fun, entertaining to see. All the players getting drunk, hopefully. Being a pick, and I hope they do like what happened last time. I guess the last player won a car and ended up donating it, and I think it was Phil Kessel that was picked last, if I believe. The last player thing, but it's more fun. Like the All-Star game, it's just. I personally don't like the All-Star weekend. I think that's my personal level, but I'm gonna watch. Especially just the players, more personalities, and them being able to pick their teams, and I guess they're gonna be paired with the celebrity. So I'm kind of figure like what celebrity is gonna help them. I want to say that Justin Bieber will probably be part of this. He's a big Toronto Maple Leafs fan, especially, and I'm sure one of the captains too is gonna be Austin Matthews. Toronto, it's in Toronto. He's a superstar player. He's Justin Bieber's good friend, and it'd be the best benefit for the league to kind of post or kind of put Austin Matthews with Justin Bieber, since they have that tie. He can probably get him to do that show, and you're going to be more people watching because of Justin Bieber, like all his Bleebers, that believe they're called. I like Justin Bieber too, so I'm not even going to lie. So, I'll watch it too for Justin Bieber. But yeah, I'm looking forward to what celebrities we have. Keanu Reeves is a big hockey fan. Jim Carrey would be funny. I think he'd be hosting a show. Cuba Gooding Jr. They're not going to have him, but I remember him drunk in Vegas. That was the funniest host I've ever seen in my life. He was so blitzed and hammered. I want to go back on YouTube and watch that. It's just funny, but that's going to be fun. Another thing too, they're bringing back the women to play a 3-on-3 game. That's going to be fun. The last time they had that, it was so entertaining. Those women were lightning fast, scoring some great goals. They're playing their hearts out. Like they're playing in front of a national audience and a crowd they're not used to. So I'm glad that the league brought them back to kind of bring more fans to watch the women's hockey. And I think it's going to be a fun one to watch. And that was probably one of my favorite moments so far of one of the All-Star games, is watching those 3-on-3 games with the women playing.
Yeah, I think that's going to be fun. I do look forward to seeing that part. I'm with you most of the time. I'm kind of like, All-Star break, All-Star game, yeah, whatever. But yeah, I think that's going to be fun. Having the celebrities will be cool. If Keanu's there, dude, I love that dude. Matrix, John Wick, if those movies come on and I'm just hanging out, I still just watch them. I love it. I love Keanu. So that'll be cool too, to see whichever ones that do show up that weekend. So I am kind of looking forward to that. So something to for you guys. You got the Winter Classic coming up, and then you've got the All-Star break too in the near future. So some things to look for down the road. You have another thing, if you want to look forward to it, I guess, is you have Patrick Kane is back. He is now a Detroit Red Wing. Somebody in our fantasy league already picked him up. Eddie and I were talking about that. We had an interesting week in fantasy hockey too. I ended up blowing out the top team, knocked King Leo out of first place. I beat him 10-2, so that was good. And Eddie's now on the rise. Eddie's in the top of the league too. He's in a playoff spot. I am still on the outside, but yeah, you have that. So I'm curious to see how that's going to work out. I'm curious, if he's going to do well, coming back from his injuries and whatnot, and to see how he pans out in Detroit. And obviously for you people, if you're playing fantasy hockey and you haven't picked him up, you may want to pick him up and see how he does. But what do you think? Kane is back, Eddie.
It's a bold move. It's another brand new team, which he should be used to leaving Chicago. He familiar with the new system with the Rangers. So Detroit's a nice speedy team. He reunited back with DeBrincat. They had some chemistry going. Maybe they're trying to bring that fire back. But a surgery like that, you're really gambling. Arctic Bums on our fantasy league. He's the one that picked him up. He's been our fantasy hockey since the beginning. So he picked him up. Bold move. I wish Patrick Kane the best. He's going to go down as the best American hockey player, or maybe one of the top best American hockey players. I don't want to disrespect Mike Modano, but yeah, I wish him luck. And what people are saying, this is his third original 6 team, so there's like a pattern there. Maybe he'll try to go for all 6 of them. But yeah, it's good, and it's cool to see Daniel Sprong kind of respect the fact that what Kane has done and what kind of caliber player he is. He gave up his 88 number so Patrick Kane can have that with the Red Wings. So Sprong went down to 17. I probably would ask for some money or something, but I'm sure Patrick Kane will compensate him and give him some sort of reward for doing that, which Daniel Sprong didn't want to. He didn't want. He just did it out of the respect for Patrick Kane and just as a good person, so that's a good shout out to him. And it's the Red Wings. I know we had those issues in the past in the playoffs and stuff with the Red Wings, but I wish him the best of luck. And they have a young, exciting team. They've been fun to watch. So, good luck on him, and hopefully he continues to play. I'd be happy and fine to see him after this season start signing 1-year deals with the rest of the original 6 teams.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. He finishes, each season with another original 16. Yeah, they were making jokes about that. And yeah, I'm with you. It's good to see Sprong give him that number and see all that work out. So you have that to watch in Detroit. We talked about the Ducks and obviously how it's been rough. Well, another team that's had it rough has been the Minnesota Wild, who ended up firing their coach and one of their assistants, Dean Evanson, and then brought in John Hines. So they had a 7-game losing streak when they fired him. So it's another team, unfortunately, to watch that's had some issues. And then we also had some excitement with Florida and Ottawa, almost 200 penalty minutes, and just a wild. I did not see it, but I saw some highlights and there was a bunch of jokes, too, in this one in the third period when the refs came out and said everybody gets a game misconduct. I mean, wow. Some wild stuff going on there in that Florida-Ottawa game. I don't know if you caught that one, Eddie. I just saw the highlights.
Yeah, same here. I was like, what the... Oh, I actually had a guy on, I think Sam Bennett, on my fantasy team, and I saw all the penalty minutes. I was like, well, what the hell? So I went and checked, and I started watching all the highlights. I'm like, holy crap. That ref probably watches Oprah? Like, everyone gets a misconduct. I don't know if it was a linesman or the referee during that scrum. I think he broke the Guinness World Record for the most times blowing a whistle. I've never heard anyone blow a whistle that much in my life. There's a song called Blow a Whistle. I think one of the rappers sings it, and he blows a whistle. They were doing that 4 or 5 minute song, and it's still not more than this referee blowing. Like, dude, they're not going to stop because you blow the whistle. Like, come on, man. Like, just relax. I remember my grandma, God rest her soul, rest in peace, grandma. I remember my dogs were fighting. I was a young kid. I want to say I was like 6 or 7, 8. As far as I can remember, I remember the dogs were fighting. My grandma's yelling and clapping her hands like the dogs are going to stop fighting. Like, grandma, what are you doing? They're not going to stop fighting. So my uncle had to go and intervene. Then it is funny. The referee just kept blowing the whistle. I loved seeing it. I loved the Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk, the Tkachuk brothers. They were just talking crap to each other too. So it's like, man, I wish Ottawa was more kind of poised to be in a playoff a team, because I would love to see the Panthers and Senators go head-to-head in a 7-game series with the Tkachuk brothers. That would be so entertaining. It'd be keep your eyes glued open and watch that. But I think the funniest thing too, Mike, you didn't mention, Grandma Kachuk was there and just had this most sour face on her look. Like really, to her grandson's like, oh man, that was the funniest thing. But that was an entertaining game. I miss games like that. That's what hockey's supposed to be. And so I missed it. It felt that old time hockey stuff and that passion on the ice from both teams. So it's good to see, and I'm looking forward to seeing these players play each other.
And I forgot to mention earlier in the show too, the Ducks Kings finally got back to that. They were going at it. There was one point in that game where they went at it, they got broken up, and then all the teams got together and fought again in the corner. And it was like, what the heck is going on? It was like, oh, okay, finally the Ducks and Kings are getting back to the way they hated each other, and they were fighting it out. But then the refs kind of put it into it. I don't know for the people that watched it on TV, but there at the game, there was a bunch of people in the penalty box too. Not to the level of this Florida Ottawa thing, but it was a good one. There was like four Kings players in the box. There was 3 Ducks players in the box. But I was kind of surprised. The refs had gone over to the benches. They had talked to both benches at length, probably during the TV timeout. And after that, it just it stopped. I was kind of surprised, honestly. I thought there'd be more of it, but he saw some of that, and I was like, okay, cool. We're seeing this again. That passion and fire that Eddie always talks about, and that they didn't have as much. We've seen it against Arizona and the Sharks, but we haven't really seen it against the Kings. So I'm curious to see how the Ducks will, play against the Kings down this rest of the season. Couple other just little things to kind of wrap up. On the show is you had Dallas Eakins, and it is ended up going to Germany, and Nick Ritchie is going to Finland. So Ritchie's going to play hockey over there, and Eakins is going to be, I believe it's like a GM or athletic director type title for the team over there, and then he's going to also coach at least the rest of the season for a team over there, and then decide maybe who will be the coach over there. So I just wish them the best of luck, Eddie. I know. We were pretty critical of Eakins on the show, and I thought still he did a great job developing the Ducks players in San Diego, and then obviously it didn't really translate as well at the NHL level. But I wish them both the best of luck.
Yeah, Eakins, I wish him nothing but the best. I think he did a fantastic job developing our team and everything, so I can't thank him enough. I wish him nothing but the best. I know it's going to be a rare and hard uphill battle, but I think if he really wants to continue coaching, I really hope he can find his way back in the NHL, AHL, or something, or he kind of just gets what he wants. He's a really great guy. He has a great winning attitude, and he can really mold players to be better, and I like that about him. So I wish him nothing but the best. As far as Nick Ritchie, he's a piece of shit. So I wish him the worst. I told you that story. I'll remind the new fans. I'll just say when he's a member of the Ducks, one of the Ducks, I guess one of their street team people / I forgot what they call them.
Oh yeah, the elevator.
She's getting she had a box that she had to carry up the elevator up or down. I totally forgot. Nick Ritchie specifically told her, "Hey, this is a player's elevator. They use the stairs." Like a female holding a heavy box, and then Fowler is the one that's like, "No, look, she's carrying a box. Like she can ride the elevator." And ever since hearing that story and a few other ones with Nick Ritchie, I've never been a fan. So screw him. I'm glad that I was hoping he'd go to Russia, where all players go to die, but I don't wish him any best. He can just go to hell. But Eakins, yeah, 110%. I wish you and your family all the best, and I'm rooting for you.
Oh boy. And then the last little thing we kind of touched on this on the last show was Thompson couldn't add a cancer ribbon. I think it was to his helmet, right? That was the issue. And then Andre Fleury wore a Native American mask despite the league being against it. And I don't know, this whole thing. I had other people ask me about this too, about the jersey thing. People that aren't even hockey fans too that have asked me, because they know that I'm a big jersey guy. They know I have the military jersey. I have a lot of practice jerseys. I have some jerseys I had custom made that don't really exist. They're just kind of like practice ones. I bought some blank ones and bought the crests and put them together. I have a military goals one. I have a bunch of different specialty ones, and I'm always trying to get other ones and things like that. But I don't know. This thing's just kind of frustrating for me because it's if you want to honor the Native American culture or something that's fighting cancer, I don't know. this kind of goes into the category of what you talked about, Eddie, with the league's kind of taking a step backwards. I don't like how this is just such a big issue. I just think it should be a non-issue.
Yeah, and I think a lot to blame is the small-minded fans. Are not even fans, the people that just like to go around bitching about everything, the media. When players refused or they didn't want to wear the pride jerseys for whatever reason they had, the media made sure to blow it up out of proportion and made it seem like they were bigots and made it seem that they were against humanity and what people or who people choose to be with or who people choose to love. I think that's what really kind of made these things go away, and it's really unfortunate and stupid because causes like hockey fights cancer is really big. I think the whole entire world is against cancer. If you're that one person that says, "Oh, cancer is cool, it kills people," then you're a piece of shit. You can go fuck yourself. But it's just things like that are the reason why we can't have fun. Like a small, like in the military, a small amount of people ruin it for everybody else. It's so dumb. They can't have the players honor for Veterans Day. Their military jerseys. Every country has a military that, and every player wearing that jersey is honoring the country that they represent. It's just one of those things that you have pride in, especially. And I get it. Okay, people have an argument about that. Okay, well, there's no argument about hockey fights cancer. If you want to wear a cancer thing on your mask to honor someone that we all have lost someone from cancer, or had someone affected from cancer, like, so be it. Marc-Andre Fleury, I'm glad he just gave him the middle finger. His wife's, like, I want to say part Native American, or he's honoring his wife for that helmet, and they told him no, and he just wore it anyways. That's cool. I mean, he has enough money, he has enough status in the league where it's like he doesn't care about a fine, and it doesn't really matter to him. But I think this whole thing's ridiculous, and I blame the stupid media members that just have nothing better to do, but they get tired of asking the same questions and asking the dumb questions they do, and they had to make something or blow something out of proportion that it wasn't. If you don't want to wear a jersey, you shouldn't have to wear it. That goes not just for the pride jerseys. If you don't want to wear a military or hockey or military jersey or whatever specialty jersey they have, it should be a player's choice. It shouldn't have to be dictated on what the league says. But this is a step backwards. Hockey's not for everyone. And like I said, the league has been declining the last few seasons with viewership, not being able to watch the games, things like this. They're doing things in the wrong direction. And top it off, they want to make all these rules. There's no secondary fines. There's no secondary discipline. Nothing happened. He wore the mask, and the league just kind of dropped down on their knees and didn't do anything and put their tail between their legs. So I think the league's a joke. We need some changes league wide to really make this game grow. And I'm glad that he stuck to his guns and did it. And I'm not sure if Logan Thompson did it, but that was just despicable and disgusting that you can't honor someone. And he probably lost someone to cancer. He wanted to honor all his hard work and play to that person he lost, and he couldn't do that. So I think the league is just going in the wrong direction, and I really hope they really figure this out. Or it's time to change management at the highest level, because Bettman's not working anymore. He's just delusional, and it's crazy. But I'm sure we're gonna get a Bettman whatever replacement when that new movie comes out, Mike. If you want to touch on that to end the show on a really, really positive note.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. I meant to talk about this on the last show, but Teemu Selanne is in a movie with Brett Hull. I like, holy crap, dude! I was cracking up. I saw that preview that he posted for it, and I was like, what? What the heck? So, I mean, that is something to look forward to for sure, is Selanne. I don't know if it's going to be in the theater or if it's like an online thing. I'm not really sure what the deal is with it, but it looked funny. So, yeah, I definitely want to check that out. And then just, yeah, you went on your thing. I don't really have much more to add to it, but I'm with you. Like, they wear these jerseys and these things. A lot of it is during warm-ups. So just give them the option. So that's all I'll say on that. But yeah, something to look forward to is the Minor Leaguer is that movie that's coming out with Selanne. So definitely looking forward to that. Also, I finally got the shirts. I redid them, the Never Say Die shirts for the third period, even though it's not been working lately. But those of you that ordered, I'm sorry. Took a while to get them remade. I sold all those out pretty quick, the ones that I did have left. So I got another batch in. I'll be sending them out to you. Also, if anybody is buying anything And this next week or so, I'll extend the like Black Friday cyber sale. But anything you buy at our website, there will be a rally towel or a foul towel included in your purchase. So look for that. That's on tpnhockey.com. I think that's really it. I don't think I have anything else to wrap up, Eddie. Other than I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving, and that's really about it. Did you have any final thoughts or words to part with? I know you did drop the F-bomb in there, so we almost made it without the F-bomb, but
I was good. I was talking before. I said I mentioned it as F. So
right.
But
any last thoughts?
I mean, other than that, we have one more full day of November, and then we have the last month of 2023. I know for myself it's been extremely hard, so I'm looking forward to just winding down this year with the positive keep a positive outlook, my head up, and just kind of honoring my dad each and every day. So I hope you guys do the same. Keep that positivity, keep the energy driving. I know holidays get really emotional and tense for some people, but I just send you all my best, and let's end this last upcoming year, this last month of the upcoming year with the positive note and a bang, and let's just have some fun, see each other at games, and some beers. You guys don't drink beers, we'll cheers some soda. I like cherry Coke, and let's just have a rest of a good November and a really great December, and go from there.
Absolutely, and that's it. Yeah, and also don't forget Noble Ale Works. If you get out there for the games, mention Ducks and Pucks, you get a 15% discount. They're having little watch parties and things there for the home and away games, so check that out as well. And that's about it. We'll wrap up the show. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll be back sometime in December, obviously, and let's go Ducks.